Have you ever typed an address into your phone and the map basically said, nope, not wrong turn, not try again, just nothing, no pin, no result, no street number, like the place doesn't exist. But here's the creepy part. Sometimes the address does exist in real life. People live there, mail gets delivered there. There's a building there, yet online, it looks like a blank space. Tonight, we're talking about the address that doesn't exist, why it happens, how it happens, and what people are really seeing when a map refuses to recognize a real location. And near the end, I'll show you the most important idea. A missing address isn't always a glitch. Sometimes, it's a choice. The moment you realize something is missing, picture this. You're trying to find a place. Maybe it's a restaurant someone recommended. Maybe it's an apartment you're visiting. Maybe it's a pickup location. You type the address perfectly. Street name, number, city. You hit search, and your screen gives you a weird result. It takes you to the right street, but the pin lands in the wrong spot. Or it drops you nearby and says, arrived, even though you're staring at an empty sidewalk. Or even stranger, the street shows up, but the number range makes no sense. Like the street goes 100 to 104, then jumps to 120. Where did the missing houses go? That's the moment your brain starts doing what it always does. It builds a story. Someone erased it. It's hidden. It's secret. It's a trap. But the truth is usually a mix of boring systems and human decisions. Reason number 1. Renumbering the city changed the rules. One of the most common reasons a missing address happens is simple. The city changed the numbers. Cities renumber streets all the time, especially when neighborhoods grow. Roads get extended, or new buildings are added. Sometimes they do it because emergency services need cleaner navigation. Sometimes they do it because the old system was chaotic. Sometimes it's because the street got split into 2 different segments. So you might have a building that was 14 for 20 years, and now it's 22. But the map hasn't caught up yet, or the databases disagree. Because here's the secret. There isn't one single official map. There are multiple layers: city data, postal data, private data, and user-edited data. When those layers don't match, addresses fall into cracks. Reason number 2. Subdivided lots. One address becomes many. Here's another common one. A single property gets split into multiple units. A house becomes apartments. A shop becomes a building with 10 offices. A lot becomes 3 smaller lots. So the original address might be 500. Then they add units 500A, 500 bytes 50C. Or they create new numbers. 502, 504, 506. Now you have a street where the numbers look like they're skipping or repeating maps. Hate tease, because maps love clean patterns. Humans build messy realities, and when the data gets messy, some addresses become unsearchable until everything syncs. Reason number 3. Postal systems versus map systems. 2 realities. This one surprises people. The postal service and the map might not agree. A mailbox address can be valid for mail delivery, while the map database doesn't recognize it yet. Or the opposite happens. The map shows a number, but mail doesn't deliver there because the postal route uses a different naming convention. In some areas, especially rural ones, people use route numbers, PO boxers, informal landmark directions, or community naming systems. So the place exists, but the address format isn't universal. Your phone wants a clean input. Reality doesn't care. Reason number 4. New buildings. The map is behind. Sometimes the reason is extremely simple. The building is new. Construction finishes. People move in. Signs go up. But the map data takes weeks or months to fully update across platforms, so you can stand in front of a Rio apartment building, and the map still thinks it's an empty lot. That's why you'll sometimes see outdated satellite images, wrong pins, missing entrances, or totally incorrect street names. In fast-growing cities, this happens constantly. Reason number 5. duplicate streets, and copy-paste errors. Now we get to the truly frustrating one. Some cities have multiple streets with the same or similar names. Main Street in one area, Main Street in another. Main Avenue nearby, or streets that change names halfway through. A tiny typo can send your PIN to the wrong neighborhood, and sometimes it's not your fault. The database itself has a duplicate entry or a mislabeled segment, so one version of the street exists, and another version looks like a ghost. Reason number 6. Hidden entrances. The address isn't where you think now. Here's where it starts to feel like a mystery. Some buildings have their main entrance not on the street where the address is listed. The official address might be on Street A, but the door you're supposed to use is on Street B. This happens a lot with apartment complexes, hotels, malls, office towers, gated communities. So you type the address and arrive at a wall, or a fence, or a service driveway, and you think, this can't be right, but it is. You just arrived at the legal side of the building, not the human side. Reason number 7. Privacy and intentional removal. Now we reach the part that makes people lean closer to the screen. Sometimes, locations are hidden on purpose. There are legitimate reasons. People dealing with harassment, sensitive facilities, shelters and protected services, security concerns, certain government-related locations, or places that request reduced visibility. Some platforms allow blurring or limiting certain details, especially in street-level imagery. It's not always dramatic, but it is intentional. And once you realize that, your brain starts asking, if this address was removed, how many others are missing too? Reason number 8. Phantom addresses and unofficial naming. In some neighborhoods, people use unofficial addresses that everyone locally understands. Behind the old church, next to the blue gate, the third house after the bakery. Then someone turns that into an address online. It gets shared. It gets copied. It spreads, but it was never official. So when you search it, the map can't find it because it's not a real registered address. It's a community label, a nickname, a place that exists socially, not administratively. The scariest part, realistic, not supernatural. Here's the most unsettling truth about all of this. Maps feel like reality, but they're not reality. They're a negotiation between different systems, city records, private databases, user reports, business listings, satellite updates, postal routes, and constant human mistakes. So when an address doesn't exist, it might be because the place is secret, but most of the time it's because the world is messy, and the map is trying to pretend it's clean. And that gap between messy reality and clean data is where the mystery lives. What to do if you find an address that doesn't exist? If this ever happens to you, here are the quick checks. Search the street name without the number and zoom in slowly. Look for neighboring numbers and estimate where it should be. Try alternate formats, Quientes, iUnit 2, apt 5, or remove punctuation. Use a second map platform and compare. Search the place name instead of the address. Check for entrances on nearby streets. Most of the time, you'll solve it. But sometimes, you'll discover something stranger. That the map is missing a piece of the world. Outro plus CTA. So the next time your phone tells you an address doesn't exist, don't assume it's just you. It might be a renumbered street, a new building, a hidden entrance, a messy database, or a deliberate choice. And now I want to hear from you. What's the weirdest map glitch or missing place you've ever seen? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit like and subscribe because Midnight Files is just getting started.